What is going on, everybody? We are back for another episode of the ABJ Podcast, episode 87, closing in on that 100, but we will not be hitting that episode 100 mark before the end of this season. Season 1 will end, I think, around episode 96 or 7, I think. I could be wrong, but we will be ending this season at the end of this year and coming back with season 2 at the beginning of 2024. So I'm very excited. Tons of great guests lined up. We've been knocking some really cool names out of the park. So much more to come. I can't wait for you guys to see them all. Tonight's guest will be Griffin McCoy. You see it in the title. Very excited for this one. Kid is tearing it up on the scene. I'm a very big fan of what he's been doing. I've been seeing him early or on with PPW, and then I've been seeing him all over the place at some brewery shows. He's been killing it at CZW. The guy's all over the place. I can't wait for you guys to learn more about him and hear his story. But without further ado, I just want to talk about our brand sponsorship, SVW, Suplex Vintage Wrestling. Guys, it has finally happened. A full store fully dedicated to vintage wrestling. They say it can never be done, but I've seen it with my own eyes. Suplex Vintage Wrestling is a store curated by wrestling fans for wrestling fans. Located in South Street in the heart of Queen Village, their shop features the largest collection of vintage wrestling under one roof. Their selection includes the classic designs featuring your favorite wrestlers from the Golden Age, Attitude Era, Internationals, Indies, and more. And if you're tired of watching premium live events at home, SVW hosts the best watch party since your friend Kyle's birthday party when you were 12 years old. And if shirts and watch parties aren't your thing, let's not forget about their selection of figures, replica belts, trading cards, and from their shirts to hats and rare wrestling memorabilia. Jesus, having a stroke here. They have something for every wrestling enthusiast out there. So what are you waiting for? Check them out at suplex.svw on Instagram or on their website, suplex.svw.com, and let them satisfy your nostalgia wrestling needs. Now, some people would pre-record that, but I'm practicing here too. This podcast is about my growth. So if I stumble and fumble, that's how I get better. Failure, every man's success is standing on a mountain of his failures. So that's what I'm trying to go for here. But huge thank you to Suplex for keeping this going and keeping everything going for me here. This podcast would not be operating right now if it wasn't for their support. So please go follow them on social media, show them love. I know we'll be talking CCW here in a little bit. They just recently had a little bit of a hiccup where some people, their one show couldn't happen. I know Suplex opened up their doors and said, everyone come through and come meet your stars and let's get them exposure. So they do a lot of cool things with not just the content space, but the independent wrestling scene, and they're super supportive. So go show them love. My guest links will all be linked below to support and show them love on their social medias, as well as everything ABJ with merchandise, t-shirts, Patreons, and everything else. You get to see these episodes a week early before everybody else on the Patreon. You can join us as little as $1, or you could join the Discord. And we always say, hey, when these record, we're live in the Discord that you can join in and ask questions and join in on the fun. So without further ado, let me bring in my guest tonight, Griffin McCoy. What's going on, bud?
Not much, mommy. Oh, come on. You know what time it is.
What's going on? But you got the Clark Kent thing going on. You're rocking some glasses. I didn't know that was you at first.
Yo, I'm glad you said that. I know I was literally coming in like I actually just got done a workout. I'm not tired. I'm a little depleted because being tired is a mindset apparently and not a state of being. So I just go by the words depleted nowadays. But
I love that.
I'm doing good. So I just hopped out the shower. Usually I throw on the contacts, but no, I'm Clark Kent today. Is it Griffin McCoy or not?
We have no idea. We have no idea who this interview is. But thank you so much for doing this. I'm very excited to have this chat. We've talked a lot backstage at shows. Man, your work ethic, your grind, the way you conduct yourself. When I interview people for one or two reasons. Obviously, I'm clout chasing is the main thing, and the others is I feel like a lot of people just see what you do in the ring. And that's why people say, hey, I want to interview this person or that person. But to me, it's more about your character. You could be the greatest person in the ring, but if behind this curtain, you're a giant piece of shit, trust me, you won't be on this podcast. But no, you conduct yourself. Yeah, you conduct yourself very well, and you're just a good human being. And I'm excited to learn more about you.
Yeah, for now.
Yeah, for now until heel mode kicks in. I want to make an apology for you. I did not mean to get my home crowd against you immediately as soon as the show started. So they had a hat rumble at the brewery show, and you decided that you were going to wear a crab hat. And as soon as you came out, I chanted, "He has crabs," knowing that a school company That was me. I started that shit.
No, I maybe you told me that, but I probably forgot. If I'd known that, I would have come on this.
Yeah. That's why I was
coming up to me saying like, "Hey, you have crabs." I'm like, that's pretty disgusting. That's a pretty disgusting thing. But we're already here, so it's
well.
fine.
I did degrade ourselves when I said it too. I said, "Well, he is in School County, so you probably got them while you were there," which you did. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You're not wrong.
So let's dive into this, Griffin. How did you fall in love? Well, for people real quick who don't know, you're an independent wrestler. You work many places. We'll get into those as we go. But you've been in the scene now. How long have you been doing this?
So I think the first week of November marks 6 years.
6 years. Wow.
6 years. Yes. I started senior year of high school when I'm like a week or two after I turned 18. And I'm about to turn 24. So, do the math. So that's 6 years right there.
You're killing it, man. So when did you fall in love with the world of professional wrestling?
So some people watched it on TV. Most people watched it on TV. But for me, it was a little movie called Nacho Libre. And that was the first time I ever really saw professional wrestling in any sort of capacity. I'm the oldest between me and my brother. And, I think I had some cousins who watched it, but it's usually an older sibling who gets you into it. And I didn't have that. So I saw the movie Nacho Libre because at one point in time, Jack Black was the funniest man on the mother.
He still is.
Planet.
He still is. And you can curse. And you can curse.
Yeah. But yeah, so he was the man. I have Nacho Libre on DVD to this day. And I saw that movie and, I didn't even really process professional wrestling still at that point, but I'm like, oh, this is cool. And then ever since I saw that movie, I grew up in San Francisco, California. I live in San Diego, California. So obviously that movie is about Lucha Libre. And then growing up in California, obviously there's a huge Latino influence. So people always selling the luchador masks, every kid had a Rey Mysterio backpack. And I don't think half of them even knew who Rey Mysterio was, but everyone had Rey Mysterio backpacks. And that started ever since I saw that movie, I started to see professional wrestling more and more in terms of people just having merchandise or I would go to the arcade and they had a Royal Rumble game. And, I recognize Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson from the Tooth Fairy. And I'm like, oh yeah.
Oh my God.
Yep. So I had a really backwards way of getting into it.
I love it. Whatever gets you in, we accept it. But that is right. That's all. Do you own a Nacho Libre mask?
Yeah, I own two. Actually. I have one that's a little more basic and one that's kind of shiny. So I have two. I have two Nacho Libre masks. It's so good. I love that movie. I saw it a couple years ago. It still holds up.
I've never seen it, but you know what? After tonight, I'm going to make it a point to go watch it because that is your introduction. So when was your first time you watched a Raw or a SmackDown or a pay-per-view or when's the first time you consumed it and who was the first people you set eyes on besides Jack Black?
Jack Black. So
or that Tooth Fairy guy.
Or the Tooth Fairy guy. I think the first time I started getting into it around 2009, 2010 was the first time I ever figured out what channel it was exactly. So that's I started to catch a little bit of it because my parents they're what are you doing? It was more so my mom, come to find out when I started really getting into wrestling, my dad was yeah, I used to love wrestling as a kid. I just never really I just never really brought it up. And I'm all right, that's kind of weird, but okay. But yeah, honestly, when Netflix came out and they started dropping these best of 2009 SmackDown, 2010, kind of that year or whatever. Yeah. That's when I really started consuming a whole lot of WWE. Because fore that I catch a segment or something or a little bit of a match. I remember John Cena wrestled Kane on Christmas one time, and I was at my family's house. I'm like, oh, keep it on, please. And they're like, no, we gotta watch the NBA game. And I'm like, come on, man. You see Kane choking John Cena to death. You want to watch that? But yeah, I was when Netflix came out and they had these best ofs, and then they had some like their DVD collections on it. So like, they had like the Street Fight. I don't know if like y'all out there have seen that Street Fight compilation video, DVD or whatever, but
if there was a Street Fight compilation, they better have had Goldust versus Roddy Piper in there.
I think they did. They did. So
where they used the footage of the OJ car chase scene and said it was Roddy Piper chasing Goldust.
They might have.
That's amazing. That's one of my favorite moments in wrestling.
Yeah. No, that's pretty crazy. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. That's a little past my time.
Go back and research it. You'll love it. You'll love it.
Yeah, but I have seen that. They had like the first match was Sergeant Slaughter versus Pat Patterson in a street fight. And that was brutal. Like they bled so much. They beat the absolute dog crap out of each other. And I was like, oh, this is crazy. And so, it was kind of like those early videos, like Netflix, like really got me into it. And then eventually I started just recording Raw every night, because like my parents, they wouldn't let me stay up that late or whatever. I was like 10 years old. They're like, you can't stay up till 11 watching wrestling. Are you crazy?
Your dad's secret, come downstairs.
Yeah. No, my dad was always just kind of like, he would always sit there, stand at the door, watch it, just casually. I'm like, oh, you want to watch? He's like, oh, I'm just watching. Yeah. And it wasn't until I really started to watch every week, and I watch SmackDown, I watch Raw, I'd be watching any kind of wrestling I can find. And that's when he was like, I actually used to love wrestling as a kid. I saw Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant live, a bunch of times. I'm like, what? So it was around 9-10 years old where I really started to get into it. And most people kind of phase out around that time, 10 to, teenage years.
That was my attitude era, so I wasn't going anywhere. I phased out I phased out Ruthless Aggression once UFC hit on the map for me, right around my senior year of high school, 2003, 2004. That's when I was like, I'm done with pro wrestling, and I was gone for a minute. Yeah.
Everyone kind of goes away for a second.
Yeah.
And it wasn't it was kind of like high school. I started really get into it, so much so that I started backyard wrestling, that's why I was a backyard wrestler in high school. So it wasn't super glamorous, but it was around that time I started doing backyard wrestling with, you probably know these guys, Ellis Taylor, Charlie Tiger, and Jordan Oliver.
Yeah. I've heard of them.
Yep. You've heard of them.
Tiger, every time I see him, I'm like, he looks like he can pass for the third Young Buck.
Oh yeah, there's been many times, many travels where you'll go to a random Wendy's or whatever fast food place you're going to, and there'll always be someone working at the front going hey, do you know the Young Bucks?
Yeah.
Yup. And he's like, you look like a Young Buck. And
he can easily pass. He's so crazy. He's the perfect mix between the both of them. He's so crazy. Exactly. Yeah, it's nuts.
Do you know the what's it called? They're the Walmart wrestler dudes.
Yeah.
Yep. So funny story, WrestleMania, when they were in Tampa a couple years ago, we were down at the Collective, which is a bunch of indie companies get together and run their shows during the week. Those guys were there, the Walmart dudes. They're in the backstage area, and we're there, and they go up to Charlie thinking he's Matt Jackson. And he's like, are you Matt Jackson? And he's like, yup. And they were like, oh my God. Can we take a picture with you? And he's like, yup. And so they took pictures and stuff.
Did he autograph stuff?
He didn't autograph anything.
Oh, that'd have been amazing.
Yeah, but they were like, are you Matt Jackson? He's like, yup, that's me.
I would do that every time. Every time.
Yeah. No, he gets a lot. We say yeah all the time, So yeah, he's got many of people, and he will continue to get many of people.
Yeah, first time I seen him, I'm like, oh my God, that's the first thing. I think I seen him at a Settlement Series show. He came out for a Settlement Series show at H2O, and I was like, holy crap. I was like, but yeah, so you guys started backyarding. Now, were you guys? Now, this fascinates me because I talk to so many people who are backyarding. So in my brain, when I think backyard wrestling, I just think maybe gym mats with a tarp on top. But then some people are like, no, we had a full ring. It's so where did you guys lie? Were you rope tied around a tree? Were you just wrestling out in a yard on grass? Were you on trampolines? What was your setup?
So I've done it all, brother. I started on a trampoline. until we broke the trampoline from wrestling. And then I don't know if people out there, but like they have a high jump like mats or pads, you know, like when you do high jump, you involve in like it's a big ass pad. We had one at our local high school, and then we transitioned to that. And then at some point, like they removed that because it was like the end of the season or whatever. So we moved to, I've been on like a thin kind of just like gymnastics mat. I have done a ring. So like, I want to let you know this. So I had a YouTube channel, and, you know, we were all on it. We were all wrestling, and it got kind of popular. And it got so popular that people within the backyard wrestling community started to contact us and book us to like travel and like do other backyard shows. So like, you know, that's how we met Jordan Oliver. You know, like we did a backyard show up in Newburgh, New York, and he had a ring, but it wasn't his ring, but it was like the, you know, the company backyard for had a ring. It was a 10 by 10. It was a boxing ring, but it was put together like a wrestling ring. And it was insane how small this thing was. But I was in that. I'm gonna blow up this dude's spot real quick. I don't really care if I do. I don't know how he feels about it. But the first time I was ever in a real actual ring was when I backyard wrestled for Myron Reed. You know, young goat. Yeah. And we drove down to Kentucky, and the first time he had a ring, and he was already doing pro shows at the time, but you know he was still like kind of in like that middle ground phase. And so, you know, that was the first time I was ever in a ring. It was like a 16 by 16. I think they got it from like High Spots or something. And that was the first time I ever like, you know, fell in the ring. That's my first time ever like wrestling or hitting the ropes, was in Myron Reed's like friend's backyard in Kentucky.
I love that. So, and how when you're traveling over like all over the place and doing this?
I think we started really traveling when I was 16.
Jesus.
Yep. I got my dad to drive us everywhere because I didn't have my license yet. And so we've driven to North Carolina, we've driven to Kentucky, we've driven to New York, you know.
Your dad's my favorite person ever. The fact that you're like his 16-year-old kid. Does he look back on it now and like see how far you've come and what you've accomplished and what you've done so far in the scene and be like, man, that was a good investment. Drive my kid to North Carolina at 16 years old.
You know, I know he does. However, he's still an investor at this point. So I can tell he's a little like, all right, I'm still like, you know, helping him out with, because, you know, my dad's I'm very blessed to have a great relationship with my parents. And like, they've been like, at first they weren't very supportive, but, you know, but eventually, like, you know, they saw how hard, like I worked for it and saw how much I was investing into wrestling. And, you know, like, that's just who I am as a person. Like, you know, if I'm going to do something, like, you know, I'm going to give it everything that I have. And so once they saw that, they were more with it, you know. And obviously you drag someone to drive you 12 hours to go wrestle in a backyard. They're like, oh, this guy must like it a lot. You know, he must love it.
Have your parents had that moment yet where like they're at a show or they're out somewhere and they like wrestling comes up and your name has been brought up to them and they're like, that's our kid. Has that happened yet?
Not with like strangers, but I mean, they bring it up to other people all the time, you know, like my dad's always like flexing to like coworkers and stuff. Like, it's like, oh, you got sons? And he's like, yeah, I do. And he's like, what they do? Like, oh, you know, one high school, plays football, track, you know, one pro wrestler. And they're like, no way.
That's sick.
You know, so that's one of his favorite flexes. But yeah,
when I was flying out of Germany, I was through the airport and I think I was wearing, I forget what shirt I was wearing, but I was definitely wearing a wrestling shirt. I just don't remember whose I was wearing. I think it was Adam Cole or MJF. I don't remember. And this was just recently, and someone was like, "Oh, wrestling." I was like, "Yeah." They're like, what are you doing in Germany?" I said, "I had a layover. I actually just came from London." And they're like, "Our neighbor, like kid that we grew up like in our neighborhood, is a wrestler, and I think he's doing pretty well for himself." I go, "Who is it?" He goes, "I think he goes by Jimmy Lloyd." And I was like, "You mean Jimmy fucking Lloyd?" And they're like, "Yeah," like it was like his neighbors or something, and they were just like talking him up. Like I'm like, "Yo, he's doing awesome for himself." Like he's
Jimmy Lloyd.
Yeah, just random strangers in an airport who's seen a wrestling t-shirt, and it was just like, we know this kid. Is he? How's he doing? I'm like, he's a pretty big deal. He's doing well.
He's a different boy.
Yeah,
he ain't the same boy that you know. He's a different boy now.
Yeah. So I don't know. I love when people have those experiences where just like, oh my god, like that's Griffin McCoy, like, oh, that's our kid. Like, cause you got, like I said, you've been doing it a long time, and for them to support you is super cool. When did the group start, and how did the name come about? Was it just the bonding over the backyarding and just sticking together as like a little bit of a friendship group then? And how did the name and all that come about?
Yeah. It really just, this is really kind of an origin story in itself. So Ellis Taylor and Charlie Tiger, I grew up, I was born in San Francisco, moved to San Diego. When I moved to Philadelphia, I was 10 years old. Charlie and Ellis both lived within a 1 block radius of the first house I lived at. And the house I live in now is another, just 2 blocks over. But I knew those guys. And at first I used to fight those guys. Not really Charlie, but I've gotten into real fist fights with Ellis Taylor. But then I joined the wrestling team. And they were like, oh, what's up with why you join the wrestling team? I'm like, I'm just trying to be a WWE superstar one day. No big deal. And they're like, oh, really? We are too. So obviously everything went away and, we became best friends. Started doing the backyard wrestling thing. Met Jordan Oliver. We all clicked. Jordan ended up moving in with Ellis. And by that time, Jordan was already he'd already been on the indie scene for a year. But he was the one who actually got me and the guys to start training at CZW.
Yeah.
So once I turned 18, he was like, hey man, you're 18 now, bro. You're going to start becoming a pro wrestler or what? And I was like, you got me, man. So I just started going down with them. And so we all showed up as a group together. I mean, they were already going there for a little bit, but I showed up with them and it was we're all best friends. It's hard not to.
So are you a Ninja Turtles fan?
Yeah. So I
want you to rank your group. Who's who? Who's the leader? Who's the brains? Who's the hothead? And who's the goofball?
All right. So outside perception, and probably inside perception too. Jordan's probably Leonardo.
Yeah.
Even though he's ugly as fuck. I'm 100% Raphael.
Even with
what's going on with us right now. I'm definitely Raphael.
Yeah, you want that leadership role, and you want to take out the self-proclaimed leader.
Yeah, right. Who does he think he is with his big swords? I got a couple kunai, and you know what? People are more scared of me than him. So, but Charlie is definitely Michelangelo, no doubt, and Ellis is 100% Donatello.
I love that. I love that.
He is the mind of the group, the thinker, the more, I wouldn't call him he's a smart guy. He's a smart guy.
Yeah. Well, Donnie's also the level-headed one too. He's always the one trying to keep everyone together and just can we just 100%. Relax for a second and think about the situation?
Yeah, 1,000,000% he is that guy. 1,000,000% he is that guy.
How did the name come about?
So, all right, I'll give this guy credit too. DJ Hyde was the one who came up with the name Young, Dumb, and Broke because that song by Khalid was really popular.
Yes.
And, I think I was only 4 months into training when he was like, all right, I want you guys to be Young, Dumb, and Broke. I think I was 5 matches in and he was like, I want you guys to debut as a group on the main CZW shows. And at first I think he wanted us to be kind of how I don't know if y'all seen the Khalid music video, but it's essentially just stereotypical high school students, there's a guy who plays football and there's a girl who does whatever,
Yeah, it's like the Breakfast Club.
Yeah, it's like the Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
We're not doing that. And during that time, SoundCloud rapping was huge. I thought it was here to stay. It's dead.
Gone.
It's dead. It's gone. It's gone from existence.
Now everyone's TikTok.
It was a trend. Who would have known?
Yeah.
But during that time, so popular. And, that was for our age range too. So we really gravitated towards that and hey, no, we're going to do this kind of SoundCloud rapper-esque version of what they want us to be. So it's not, Young, Dumb, and Broke, it's Young, Dumb, and Broke, it was our thing. So we were the one who really had, the real say into what we really wanted to do, and we made a whole vignette package for ourselves that we filmed with False Finish Productions up in New York that Jordan's known them for a while and they're really good at what they do. But we filmed it up with them. We showed DJ and he was like, yeah, I guess it's cool. And like, and then you had to have everyone else tell him like, oh, this is awesome. So
yeah, it's so crazy how good that name fits in the world of professional wrestling, because usually in this stage when you're the young kid, you know, you're just the dumb kids who just rush through everything and you're just spot guys, like it's the spot monkeys. You got to jump and do your thing, slow down. You're gonna go broke or you're gonna kill yourself or hurt yourself. And yeah, it fits so well for that style and what you guys do. It's funny it came from the song, but it fits the generation of that of where you guys are in your professional wrestling career. It's a cool stable name.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, it ended up working out, you know, so, but that was kind of like, we really had that, like that say into like what we wanted to do. Yeah. And, you know, as soon as we debuted, like it kind of just was off to not just only off to the races, but like fed to the wolves, you know, like, you know, we really had to, like being a young wrestler, you know, I'll explain this in layman's terms, you know, especially in the wrestling world, like, you know, it's kind of like any, you know, it's any profession, you know, you start at the very bottom, you eat shit, you like the taste of it. People are out to get you because you're young and you're impressionable. And, you know, you like, the good thing is that we had each other to like rely upon. And like Jordan was already kind of like a year, like a little bit ahead of us. So like he was already kind of like, you know, making his way. And, but yeah, so like those early years, you know, brutal. Like it was good. It was good. And like,
I couldn't imagine being in this business and trying to forego it yourself without having a support. Like, honestly, I tell people now is get into the business and whoever you're going to train with or get those early years in with, get tight. Because the part in the ring now I don't wrestle, right? But I grew up an athlete. I played basketball. Practices suck. The game is the fun part. Getting in between the ropes and doing going in front of the crowd is the fun part. Just don't get hurt, and you're gonna make your way through. Win, loss, or draw, you're gonna get through it. Exactly. But it's the mental aspect of the business and the mental aspect of the grind of, am I good enough? Am I going to make it to the next level? Why is this person making it? I'm not. And just that depression and anxiety and imposter syndrome. But if you don't have a support system of people to keep you level headed, this business will swallow you up.
It will. It really will. And especially too, like, so like nowadays it is like, I'll say it again. I'll say it's a little trendy to be like a very young person, like getting a lot of opportunities in wrestling, like over the past few years. And like, I think that's good. You know, you need youth, you need like new people, you like young people. Like there's no reason, you know, like you have like guys like Nick Wayne, Leon Slater, Billy Starks, like, you know, all Starboard Charlie, like all these really young people. But like, you know, like
they missed that generation before them that I feel like should be getting the exposure. I said it, you didn't.
No, it's not even that. It's not even that. You know, where everything happens for a reason and everyone matures in their own way and it all works out for the best in the very end. So like, you know, I love all those people too. Like
same. I love Nick. Actually, when I was in London, I watched Nick wrestle Casey Navarro at Defy. It was so cool.
Really?
Yeah, oh, wow. To see people from the Northeast wrestle in London and being like, and loving both of them.
Crazy.
Yeah, and honestly, like I was like, they were like, "Yo, Nick's so good." Like I'm like, he is. I said, but have you seen this tag team partner from the States? Have you seen that group of people from the? Like I said, if you think Nick's good, like there's our Northeast PA. I was telling everybody who would listen to me in London. I said, if you think like Nick's good, you just see where he comes from and the people who else wrestle in that group and the GCW kids and the CZW kids and just that Northeast scene that's grinding. We are rich with talent.
Yeah, and like this will slightly diverge right now, but I feel like this is something I'm kind of like wanting to like talk about at any point. So it's funny. So like obviously like there's a lot of young guys who are getting a lot of like shine right now, and then like there's almost like this generation. It's not like a generation, but it's a little bit. It's like this sect of people and like this kind of like 21 to 25-ish, 6-ish range right now, who were right there pre-pandemic, all like really coming up. The pandemic hits, all momentum for everyone is killed for the most part. Some people like Jordan got to keep it alive because he wrestled for, GCW, and then like, but it was hard for like a lot of this generation. And like, but you're seeing these dudes like, who might have been a little bit farther along right now. Like now it's like, there's a lot of talent developing right now. So like at CCW, like myself, guys, like, pretty much everyone on the roster. I'm not going to go through naming everyone. Find out for yourself. Everyone on the roster.
Tons of talented people.
Tons of talented people coming up. I'm wrestling at Wrestling Open all the time right now. Tons of talented people coming up right now. Like, even at PPW, tons of talented people. Like on this like Northeast to New England kind of, even down to like, like Virginia-ish, because I know plenty of dudes from there who are coming up to CZW who are like, are starting to, I can tell them like, oh, this guy's gonna be big one day. So like, I think just a matter of time and exposure for a lot of us to like really not have to go not say not go anywhere, but like for this scene of like Northeast to New England, because like, this has always been the epicenter of like the best wrestling, like people like Ring of Honor, like, they would tour out there, but like they were always based on this Eastern seaboard of like going up and down. Like obviously they would make it out to the Midwest and stuff like that, but it was always kind of this like, this chunk of America that has always been like where the best talent goes. And right now it feels like it's starting to develop back into that, but it's still coming out of this phase where like, everything was just like scattered to the wind and everyone's just trying to find something to grab onto. But now that we're coming out of this pandemic, it's been a few years now, and like we're still recovering. It's kind of crazy. We're still recovering. But, this scene is like just, it's going to be ripe before you know it. It's going to be a juicy watermelon before you know it,
Yeah.
It's been sitting in the sun. It's been cooking up. Everyone's been working really hard. And like,
you look at what's on TV right now between AEW and WWE, minus Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar, and Randy Orton are just that's the three names I'm thinking on the top of my head. The rest from the bottom to the top are all, for the most part, cut their teeth, the Northeast wrestling, the NXT, the before even NXT, the ROHs, the CZWs, the GCW, exactly. Like they that's all. And like you're like how you just said, that group of people now is that next wave. Like in 5, 10, 15 years, when that generation that's on TV now goes up, you guys are the next ones filling in.
Yep, exactly. And it really is, because like we were saying earlier, like it is a huge mental game, like it's for wrestling. And I was even seeing a clip of Booker T on Chris Van Vliet's podcast talking about like, hey, like this business goes in circles, like not every time is gonna be your time, and like you got to know like when to enjoy and like when to whatever. It's always a grind, but like it's kind of this thing of like right now it's like, all right, like we're all trying to like get to where we need to be as fast as possible, because like it's a marathon, but at the same time like all of our bodies are jacked up. We're all wrestling all the time. We're all going hard in the paint. Like you feel it. And like just being in life as well, just seeing how like life is progressing for not just yourself but people around you, people and like it just feels like you have no time whatsoever. Like I should have been there, not yesterday, but last week. Like that's the feeling. So
I remember when you first came in the door at PPW. I don't the brass that are there. I know Paul was very high on you. Paul's seen you before and he was very high on you. And I just remember people being like, well, who's this guy coming? I'm like, this kid's like the deal. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, he's been like, cause like I was very fortunate enough that I bounced around a lot, and a lot of people in promotions kind of just get stuck to their one promotion and then they don't really see until they come in. And I just remember you coming in. That was the cool part about that was too, that was the first time I seen you outside of your group, where you were kind of like, you ventured out on your own and forged your own path. And I think you've been doing a beautiful job at a promotion like PPW, really making a name for yourself there.
Yes. No, PPW has been a huge blessing. Like from the bottom of my heart, like I love PPW to death. I love Tony. I love Paul. I love all the people who wrestle for there, because I have gotten some incredible opportunities at PPW. Like
some
PPW
banger matches too.
Yeah, I've had some awesome matches. I got to wrestle some great people. Like I have been able to, really grow as a wrestler, at PPW, and like I missed their. I unfortunately was not able to wrestle at their 10th anniversary show, but I'm going to be at their shows for the rest of the year. So sorry, I'm locked up. I'm locked.
So here's a quick question. I'm not sure how to tiptoe around this because I don't know where it lies on the scale, but like you've become a player at CZW, right? You guys have all been CZW kids, and then Jordan goes on and he's become a player at GCW. Now there's, I guess, history between the two.
Yeah.
So how does it feel to be both like upcoming stars in two companies that didn't always see eye to eye or don't see eye to eye, but you're both friends working in there, and like, are you guys? Because I always say too, like, I love both companies, and I hope the day comes where they can kind of like talk, you know what I mean? Honestly, when people say like, will that bridge ever be built again? I personally, even though everyone says no, I personally say yes. And I think the way it gets done is you and Jordan. I truly do. I think if you guys keep grinding, the money and the way you guys are telling this story, or how you really hate each other, you know what I mean? Pull the curtain back.
Bastard.
Yeah, but I think for the good of the business, I think you're both of your grinds and representing each company and using that as part of the momentum. You guys are doing something bigger at work than just professional wrestling here.
Yeah, no, I feel that way too. And I'm pretty sure, Ugly over there feels the same way. And, but no, like, especially too, like, if you look at wrestling as a whole, the history of it, like, yes, companies are like, WWE, whatever you want to call it. Like that is like, that is wrestling to a lot of people. But like, if you look at the whole thing, like the business itself has been built off of the wrestlers, and not just the wrestlers, but the rivalries and, the rivalries that and the storylines that come from those rivalries. But it really starts with two guys or two groups of two guys, whether it's a tag team, but it's usually with these insane storied feuds that have built over years and have been, gone through twists and turns and dips, ducks, dives, and dodges, So I think right now, like, I'm going to be tied to this guy, Jordan Oliver, for my whole life because I already have been, and at some point we're probably going to kiss and make up. And then one of us is going to kick the other in the dick. And then
it'll probably be you kicking him in the dick. That's
get a little too rich, a little too famous, kick the other one in the dick. And you know what? We'll be fighting again.
You and Jordan are going to be I would say like the rivalries you think of is your Kevin Steens and your Sammys, right? They were that of the old ROH that transferred to TV. Then you have your Wheeler and you have your Garcia, who have been tearing it up on the indie scene, and they've been attached to each other. Yeah. You and Jordan are that next wave.
Yeah, no, we are that next wave. I have no doubt in my mind. Especially like, we had our match at JCW, and like, I love JCW and I love wrestling on there. But like obviously, like 1 p.m. after a GCW Saturday night pay-per-view on a Sunday is a little bit of a dead zone a little bit. But everyone who saw that stream, like, they get good views on their streams, and like all the people there, all the fans who were there enjoyed it as well. But like, that was just the start of like
I mean, you guys kill each other inside of a brewery.
Exactly.
That was awesome to see.
Yeah, we killed each other inside of a brewery. People are already like, oh wow, I didn't know it was gonna be like this. And then we had our match. We had like a 25-minute main event, and we had a lot of people were calling that like match of the year on the independent scene. So like that's cool, I guess. But like I knew that everyone there who was there and then watched it, like they felt what was to come. They they were there to witness a moment, a moment, and not just a moment in wrestling history, where like they're gonna like look back on this in a few years and they're gonna be like, wow, like this is like I was there when.
I feel the same way at IWTV 100 with Garcia and Wheeler Yuta when they wrestled in an Ironman match for 60 minutes in Tremont's oven.
Exactly. it's just going to be one of those, another one of those things. And, like what's even better for everyone else, for the Payne fan, is that me and Jordan have like this entire backstory of like, like I've known this dude since I was 16 years old. He's given me everything that I've needed in professional wrestling. But at the end of the day, how we all probably get with an older brother figure, like I want what you got, dude. And you know what? I'm going to beat the shit out of you to get it. I don't care.
I love it.
Like it's fine. It's fine. I'm going to take it from you. And then at one point he might take it back from me, but we'll see about that.
You guys are he gets, and listen, I'm guilty of it. I say it all the time. I said people get compared to the next Shawn Michaels, and name gets thrown around a lot. And I think Jordan is that next guy. But you're the mirror universe. You're the Marty gonna throw Shawn through the window.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I like to think of myself as more of a Brett.
Yeah,
I'll do that. I'm more of a Brett.
No, you're way more entertaining than Brett. Brett was very good in the ring, but everything else out of that, he was boring. That's why I wasn't a Brett guy. Brett sucked at being a heel too.
No, I love Bret Hart, but I love Shawn Michaels too. What I'm saying?
They're both the goats. At the end of the day, you can't say one's better than the other. They're both important to professional wrestling.
Oh yeah. Extremely.
Who are some people in your short time that you've worked that were really, really influential to you? Or I always say like the light switch moment, right? When you go through all these moments and you're like, oh, it clicked. What was that moment for you in wrestling, and who was the person you're working where things just kind of came together for you?
The first person that I ever wrestled that like really like changed everything for me as a wrestler is Fred Yehai. When CZW came back in, I would think it was October 2021, and we had the first show back. I was the main event, and I was wrestling Fred Yehai. And like Fred Yehai is a very underrated guy, and I'm not gonna go into all that. But anyone who knows Fred Yehai knows this dude is like a world-class wrestler who is like super talented and is a super gritty, tough SOB. And he does not wrestle like anyone I have met. You know what I'm saying? Especially like nowadays. Like it's like he is not, his style is like not anything I've ever seen. And so wrestling him in the main event of the first CZW show back, like that was my first singles main event ever. Maybe I've done a couple on Dojo. I've done a couple on Dojo Wars, but like this is like the first like the pressure was on, and especially wrestling a guy like Fred Yehai, like I did not know how it was going to go, to be honest. I'm a very confident person because of like, the work I put in to make sure I'm always bettering myself. But even so, you get to these moments, these pivotal points in your life, and you're like, I don't know if you ever seen The Sopranos, but when Paulie has this like dream about like, about Big Puss like getting shot, and he sees him like when he's dead, he's like, when it's my turn, will I stand? And he's talking about like, like Big Pussy want to get like he wanted to sit down, and then he got like killed, like a big pussy. And so, that I love that show. But regardless, it's kind of the same thing. Like, that was my moment of like, man, like, will I be able to hang? I've already talked all this stuff. I'm calling myself the top guy. Like, I think I'm hot shit. I think I'm going to be the greatest thing ever. But like, if I don't pull this one out the bag, like, I'm cooked, like I'm cooked. CZW's cooked. Like, it's all just, it's gone. So, but luckily, I didn't win, but like, I proved that like, I'm not too delusional. And we put on a phenomenal match, and, like I earned, some respect that night from all the people who were watching, all the people who saw that match. And, that was like the first time, like, like everything was just kind of like, oh, okay. Like, I think I could do this, So like I got to wrestle him. I got to wrestle him again. And, but also too, he also taught me how hard it is to like be able to be in like the main event, not just with like the mental aspects or whatever, but like I'm talking about like really being able to physically wrestle in a main event, like when you're going out there and you and this dude are going to go 20 plus minutes, and you are going to beat the shit out of each other. you are going to fly off the top rope, spill to the floor, get dumped on your head, get rocked. Like, he taught me what it is to and even just to have the cardio. Like, I don't think wrestlers talk enough about how physically tough it is to do a wrestling match. But it is you are using every muscle in your body at all times. There is no break, even
especially if you push a pace like you do in a match.
Yeah. When you're pushing a pace in there, cause that's how I go. I push the pace for better or for worse. I push that pace. And, he really taught me oh man, if I can't just waltz in here and think I'm going to go out here and be putting on these crazy main events, I need to seriously buckle down, focus on my cardio and conditioning, focus on my strength training. I need to make sure I'm the best athletic version of myself possible. And he was the first person who really made me know hey man, it ain't sweet out here, all these people in the main event, they are working their asses off, especially after a great show, you got to do everything in your power to deliver. So he was the first guy to really give me that hard lesson.
Yeah.
So, always credit.
Well, we talked earlier about the PPW thing and how I feel like that really was a place for you that you shined outside of your group and your stable and really forged your own path. I was laughing the whole time because you said big puss, and I was like, I think one of the first people I've ever done commentary with where you cursed on a live microphone.
Oh,
do you remember that?
Yep. Yes, I do.
Who was it? Was it Killian? You called Killian a pussy on my on.
Yeah, I did. Man,
that was awesome.
That was so crazy. I just remember instantly being oh shit, I should not have said that.
Oh, I loved it.
Just being oh,
me and Paul just lost it. He didn't care at all.
Fine,
well, that was a moment for me too, because you were hurt. You tweaked your knee, or your foot, or something.
I smashed my heel. I was at training. I obliterated my heel. I had a bone chip in it. I could not stand. I was borrowing someone's crutches.
But you came probably a 2-hour drive or an hour and a half to come to a promotion that you physically couldn't work, but still made yourself seen, made yourself heard, did whatever you could to be a part of the show. And for me, I was like, that shows something. Some people oh, I can't make it, I'm hurt, I can't wrestle, so I'm not going to be there. You're like, no, I'm part of this brand, I'm part of this team, I'm going to be there. And it helped elevate that rivalry and that story you were doing there. And PPW at the time, man, was going through a transition where they had Casey Navarro, who was like, oh, you have an outside name, bring him in, Casey's gonna knock it out of the park. And then Casey went on and is killing it in other places and left that void open. Then we had Action Andretti come in, and he was that guy. Put a name in front of him, he's gonna light it up. And then Action Andretti goes on to do other things. And then I feel like we always had the facade, we always had the Bro Kellers, they were in the title picture, but we didn't have that guy in the middle of the card to steal a show. And you became that guy, that Casey Navarro, that Action Andretti, to come in and be like, oh, you got this guy. If I'm not mistaken, who was one of the first names you worked there? Oh shit. Did you work VSK? Was it VSK?
Nah, I was supposed to wrestle Josh Woods one time in a singles match, but his flight got canceled. But I've been in a lot of fatal four ways, to be honest. I was in a fatal four way with Davey Richards.
There was Davey Richards, and you and Richards showcased very heavily in that. Yes. Yeah,
me and Davey Richards. Whatever. I don't know, man. What's going on.
Yeah, outside of wrestling, whatever happened. I wasn't there. You know what I mean? But in the ring, that guy brought it. And in the
ring, that guy, crazy, bro. One of the best of all time. And he was a huge influence on 15-year-old Griffin McCoy.
His training seminar before that show was the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, word! I went to the
he was putting people in submissions and essentially was just like, oh, here's how you do the submission in a wrestling match. And then if someone gets crazy, here's how you break their leg. And he just moved his elbow in, and they're like, screaming.
I still went to that one. Shit.
Yeah.
Man. but that was too cool. I traded chest kicks with Davey Richards, like that was probably one of the highlights of my life, so that was pretty cool. I got to wrestle Dante Martin in a fatal 4-way with Jordan Oliver and Action Andretti. And we had a crazy match in that.
That match was awesome.
Yep. I got to wrestle Chris Bay in a fatal 4-way.
Were you in the multi-man match with Brian Cage?
No, I wasn't.
Everybody was in that match. It was like 100 people in that one. It was supposed to be a one-on-one and then turned into a multi-man. Those cards changed so much the day of. That was a fun promotion. That kept you on your toes.
Yeah, wrestling, man. This is how it goes.
Yeah. But in our Discord, we have a question because we are getting close to the end here. Hunter has 2 questions for you, and then we have the sponsored question. What would you say? I know we talked about your Jordan rivalry and a little bit here and there, but what would you say is a rivalry besides that one that stands out as your favorite and one that you would tell people to go and seek out and watch?
So we just talked about this guy, but me and Action Andretti had a series of matches from I know we started. I think our first match that was on CZW was maybe somewhere in 2022. Somewhere in 2022, we started having like these string of like matches from like I think it was end of winter going into like spring, and I think we even wrestled like earlier in 2021 as well. It was like kind of like when CZW first started coming back. Like I wrestled Freddie Yeha a couple of times. I wrestled JD Drake a couple of times, and then I started feuding with Action Andretti. And we had like a series of matches where, we had like one match at an outdoor event in Maryland, that was super cool. And then we did another match where we had a time limit draw. I think it was like a 15-minute time limit draw or something like that. But we had an incredible match there. And then we did a 30-minute Ironman match as like our blow-off match. And we went, the full 30 minutes, and then we went another like 15. So we had like a 45-minute match. And I won, of course, because you know what time it is. But like that is a guy where like, because like soon after that, it was like a couple months, he got signed to AEW, and now he's killing it.
And he beat Chris Jericho. Bro,
yeah,
I was on a live stream on another content creator, Tantalizing Tony, and I remember watching it, and I remember it was in Texas or something crazy. It wasn't even in the Northeast. It was like Midwest, West Coast. I think it was Texas though. And I remember they panned he didn't get an entrance. They just like Jericho comes out and they kind of pan the. I'm like, that's Action Andretti. Like, yep. And Jackson's gonna wrestle Jericho.
Yep.
And then it goes to first commercial, and then it's just about to go to second commercial, and he kicks out of a code breaker, and then he comes back from commercial and he kicks out of the walls, and I was like, he's gonna beat Jericho tonight, and everyone's like, no, he's not. I'm like, this just reeks of why would he go this long? Why would he kick out of all these? The crowd is going crazy. They're behind him, and he won. I was like, oh my God, he just got signed to AEW. And I was like, couldn't have not happened to a nicer guy.
I'm not gonna lie, I wouldn't say that. Action Andretti in real life is a bit of an asshole, but you know what? I love that dude. I'm not gonna sit here and act like Action Andretti. That's my boy. That's my guy. I love him. He's a good dude at heart. He's not a piece of garbage. But that dude in real life, man, one day he's gonna kick Darius Martin in the dick. He's going to kick him right in the dick, and he's going to start being the real Action Andretti. And the real Action
he's going to be really good at it, too.
He's a charismatic guy, but he's a bit of a douchebag. And you know what? People are going to love him and hate him for that. And
it's funny because when he was first at PPW, he was a heel, but everyone liked him. And he was like, shit, I have to be a babyface here because he's but he's a good heel. He's a really good heel.
Because he's a fucking asshole in real life. But he's not a bad guy. He's not a bad guy. He's not like
he'll kick you in the dick.
Doing like bad things out here, but he's just like, that hey, one day people are gonna see. They're gonna see that guy. But we were like getting able to like wrestle him because like we were both kind of in the same place of like we're trying to do whatever we gotta do to like get some eyes on us. Yeah. And we started having like these like incredible matches where we were feuding with each other. And like that's something where you can go on Premier Streaming Network, which is the same thing that PPW is on. And,
are they on Premier now? Or they're not on Fight anymore?
Yeah, they're on Premier now. I don't think they're on Fight anymore. But I think you can still find. Yeah, I think you can still find PPW shows on fight, but I think they just moved all their new shows to Premiere.
Listen, if you're into professional wrestling, independent wrestling, and you want to watch, there's 3 programs you get, and you get Premiere because it has everybody. You get Fight TV because you get all that great stuff with GCW and House of Glory and all that awesome stuff, and then you get IWTV, and that I believe all CZW's on that, right?
No, CZW is not on there. However, maybe it will be soon.
Okay. I thought they were on IWTV. At least they were at one point in time, right?
They probably were at one point in time, something,
wrestling.
Wrestling. But man, they might be on that very soon.
Where can you watch CZW now? Is this all on YouTube?
Premier Streaming Network.
It's on Premier Streaming Network as well? Okay, cool. There you go.
Yep. I just wrestled at the Premier Streaming Network Wrestling Showcase this past
And that's the Freddie Prinze Jr. company, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Yep, Three Legacies is also on there. We talked about a previous episode with Ricardo Rodriguez. His promotion's on there. It's a great service. Go get it and watch independent wrestling.
I think they have House of Glory on there as well, along with having it on Fight TV. But they have like a lot of companies on there. Way more than I thought there'd be.
Next question here. You said you went to the gym today before the podcast. It might be an offbeat question, but I have to ask: what is your favorite music to train to? Or your favorite music group to train to?
I think it's Muscle Group.
Yeah. All right. What is your favorite muscle group to train? There you go. Sorry. Yeah.
I'll do both. I got my glasses on. I can read.
Yeah. I'm just dyslexic. That's my problem. Yeah. That's why I talk for a living and don't write or read.
Yep. But so my favorite. So my taste in music changes all the. I mean, I love all kinds of music. I love all kinds of music, even country. Like I'm loving. Yeah. No. I'm telling you. Hey, man. The kids these days love country. Tyler Childers, Zach Bryan, they love these guys. But yeah, those are good. But right now, I'm listening to, man, I'm honestly listening to like new school rap. Right now, if y'all younger people out there know like DDG and like La Tyler, I'm listening to those guys. For a minute though, I was on a kick of like mid 2000s to late 2000s rock. So like Nickelback. And,
Jesus, you are full heel here.
Yeah, no, I love Nickelback, Pearl Jam. I used to hate those as a kid. I love them. I listen to them all the time.
I can't stop listening to emo music. I just listen like early 2000s emo all day long.
Oh, yeah, but it's great for the gym. But my favorite muscle group to train, I used to avoid this like everyone does, legs. But now I think my legs are like my best asset. I love training arms and all that kind of stuff. And
got those quads, baby.
Yeah, I'm not going to stand up. I'm not gonna stand up and show them off to you right now because that would be obscene.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I love training legs. Actually, I hurt my knee a little bit. It's fine. It's nothing serious. But yeah, no, I love training legs. I squat like 355 pounds. I'm a beast, dude. I got a big squat. I got big quads and a big old booty.
It is.
I got a badonkadonk. So
all training those legs to just kick Jordan Oliver in the dick one day.
Yep. Just kicking, because you need that dick kicking power, man. It comes from the legs, comes from the hips. Got to have explosive hips. So
yep.
But yeah, I love training that. And I will say a close second though is maybe specifically my triceps. I'll pop off the tricep meat. It's not weird bad lighting. I'm not pumped at all.
It's the lighting. It's all lighting right now. Yeah.
All lighting, I don't have a great camera. If I had your camera that you got, I'd be looking crazy right now.
Yeah.
But
I seen it in person. Crazy tries.
In person. Yeah. I'm pumped up. I look sick. So yeah. But yeah, I love training the triceps and obviously legs. Legs are great.
Love that. Last question, our sponsored question, Hunter. Logos by Hunter. He does a lot of the stuff for me. If you check out my merch page, he does so many logos to get my name out there and help me make some money for this time, these trying times. If you need a logo, he's amazing at logo spoofs or anything like that. Hit the guy up, Logos by Hunter on Instagram as well as in Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it now. But his question is, if you could write a letter to a younger Griffin McCoy, what would that letter say?
get on the gas, dude. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Now, I would tell young Griffin McCoy, hey, man, you're not going to get anywhere by not busting your ass. And, like, you know, I've always busted my ass, but, like, you know, when I first started, like, you know, I got a lot of opportunities very young. And I was, you know, hustling to get to shows and get on bigger things and do all that kind of stuff. Like, I wasn't training as hard. You know, I was in the gym, but like I didn't invest into a lifting program. I didn't invest into a nutrition program. You know, I didn't invest in, like, you know, seeking out knowledge about how to be a better athlete and like all that kind of stuff. I was just kind of like, you know, gallivanting with my friends. So the thing I would tell myself is like, hey, do all these things you're doing right now, but to be a real pro wrestler and to like really get where you want to get to, like, you know, you need to invest. If the sooner you invest into this stuff, all those things you want to do, they're going to come even quicker. So, you know, that's the one thing I would say. And that is great for all these young pro wrestlers. I say it every time I get the chance, but buddy, meet your friend called Jim and hit that guy every single day. You know, get on a weightlifting program, figure out how to count calories and get your protein in, because it's not just for aesthetics, because, you know, you're going to like the way you look, I guarantee it. But, you know, it's also for your body. It really is just for your body. You have to develop a strong, callous body in order to endure being a professional wrestler and going through the long haul. You know, I'm only 6 years in. I got a host of injuries, you know what I'm saying? They're going to happen regardless. But, like, you know, from, you know, all the times I've accumulated injuries, like in talking with, like, you know, my sports doctor and all that kind of stuff, like, you know, the way I've been able to like not be out on the shelf is that I'm already strong. You know, I'm already like, you know, working out consistently. I'm already like, you know, making sure I have good cardio and good nutrition and all that kind of stuff. So, like, you know, injuries are going to come just like how it is with any sport, but you need to make sure you're investing in yourself, investing into your body, investing into your nutrition. So that's what I would write to myself. And I will always preach to every young wrestler coming up right now.
I love it. Well, listen, Griffin, thank you so much for doing the podcast. You are one of my favorite people. I hope once I get my shit together, I can come out to more shows and support you and see you at places like PPW and CZW very, very soon. We're getting there. We're grinding, but I appreciate you taking your time out and coming and tell your story. I'd love to have you back soon. Maybe season 2, we'll have you come back on and talk. Yeah. You're very 6 years in is a long time to do something, but you're still very young and a lot of time to go. And like I said, I think you're going to be one of those guys that we're going to be talking about in another 6 to 10 years, where you're going to be the future of this business and somebody we watch on TV on a regular basis. And I think you're talented enough and have a good head on your shoulders, and you'll get it done. Check the links below for all things Griffin McCoy. Go support him, grab some merchandise, and follow him on social media. Tell him you listened to it, you heard this podcast, and comment on there and let him know what you think. And we'll see you guys next time for the ABJ podcast. We're out of here. We'll see you next time for episode 88. Here's some music by the Converse Kid. See you next time.